That will do it for us today. I'm Chris Stewart. Denver 7 News at 5 starts right now.
They should listen to the students.
Douglas County students demand answers and accountability.
We are students, and this is our schools. We should have a say in what happens.
The school board did not allow the public to speak before firing the superintendent. Tonight, students are making it loud and clear they will not be silenced.
I'm just glad that we're finally being heard.
Aurora's mayor hopes the third time's the charm to enact a camping ban.
The fact is that we need to clean up these areas.
While Denver votes on putting millions towards sanctioned campsites.
Safer for the individual, safer for the neighborhood, which means safer for the city.
Douglas County teachers are threatening to leave. Douglas County students are walking off campus. And 4 Douglas County school board members are now facing a lawsuit. Good evening, and thank you for joining us at 5. I'm Ann Trujillo.
I'm Shannon Ogden. Glad you're with us tonight. Now, that lawsuit was filed after last week's the conservative members of the board decided to fire the superintendent, Corey Wise. Now, the Douglas County Teachers Union says Friday's decision sends a clear message, quote, look for options elsewhere.
Denver 7's Patrick Perez is following the fallout here, and Patrick, students are going out of their way. They want to show their support for the former superintendent.
But the message those students want to say really is long lasting. They want these new board members to know that their voice matters too.
Students across Douglas County made their voices heard Monday. First day back after the new board members voted to fire Superintendent Corey Wise.
He's done so much for the teachers here.
11th grader Audrey was one of several hundred students we saw walk out of Highlands Ranch High School shortly after 1 o'clock. Her mom is a teacher here, so she may be a little more knowledgeable about what's happened than some of her peers.
A lot of people don't really care about the school board, but there is quite a few teachers and parents and students who genuinely know who Corey Wise is and loved him.
Also joining Audrey and her classmates were students from Crest Hill Middle School, just down the street.
Come on, Crest Hill!
It's great to be here. It's surreal, and I'm just glad that we're finally being heard.
8th grader Emily admits she and her friends didn't know much about Corey Wise or the school board prior to Friday night's meeting.
Very little, which is shocking because really we should all really know more about what's going on in our community.
But what they saw and heard made them want to speak up.
We are not going to stand for injustice, discrimination, and abuse of powerful posts.
On the sidelines were parents like Craig Mason, who says the board should have given Wise a shot.
I'm an employee, I have a job, you guys have jobs. I mean, how would you feel? You're just let go with not having a chance to get on a performance plan, present your side of it.
Education over politics!
And although it's too late now to change the past, the signs to chanting all a coordinated effort to send a message to the adults whose voices may carry more weight.
Now, it is important to note here that not every single student you saw in that story was actually here for this cause. I mean, who does not want a good excuse to get out of class on a Monday at 1 o'clock? Now, on the flip side to this, I did speak with a parent who is speaking on behalf of other parents who are in support of the board's decision to fire Wise. They're expressing concern that this whole thing, it was orchestrated by adults, not the students, but the students that we spoke with today say they coordinated a lot of this through social media, maybe possibly with some help from their parents. For now, we're live here in Highlands Ranch. I'm Patrick Perez, Denver 7.
It's certainly complicated. All right, Patrick, thank you. And these protests, by the way, don't change the fact that Superintendent Wise was fired. So what happens next? Deputy Superintendents Danielle Hyatt and Andy Abner are now assuming the role of superintendent while the district looks for a permanent replacement. In a letter last night to parents, Hyatt and Abner said, "We recognize there are varying degrees of emotions and perspectives in the district right now, and they are encouraging the community to come together to support students, which, as they say, is the #1 priority."
Well, Change.org petition to recall several of the school board members has already gathered 23,000 signatures. The actual process is a little more sophisticated. The earliest a recall effort could begin is 6 months after an election, so in this case that would be May. 15,000 signatures then would be needed to get on the ballot. Now, the school board has a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, and we hope you'll join us tonight on Denver 7 News at 6. We're going to take a deeper look at the role that large donations are playing in school board races.
Adams 14 will, at least temporarily, regain full control of its operations this week. That school district recently voted to end its relationship with managing company MGT Consulting. The State Board of Education vetoed that idea, but MGT decided it was time to exit all the same. MGT was charged with correcting years of poor performance within Adams 14. Now, the state seems to believe Adams 14 still needs assistance, though it hasn't officially said if it will require the district to work with another company.
Police in Aurora are looking for this man they say killed a woman during a church service. Jose de Jesus Montoya Villa is also accused of shooting and injuring 2 pastors at that church. It all happened Friday night at Iglesia Faro de Luz. This is off I-70 and Colorado Boulevard. And police say the suspect knew one of the victims.
Every city in Colorado has its own approach to getting more people off the streets and into permanent housing. Well, tonight we're taking a 360 in-depth look at 2 different strategies being proposed by 2 cities.
And we begin in Denver. Back in 2020, city-sanctioned campsites were placed across the city to help people in the streets during the start of the pandemic. Now, the group behind those sites, Colorado Village Collaborative, is now requesting an additional $3.9 million from the city to support hundreds of people through the end of this year. Denver 7's Russell Haythorne is live at one of those sites. This is 8th and Elati. Russell, Colorado Village Collaborative says these campsites are working. Those who live near there, they have a different story.
Exactly, Shannon. Advocates of these encampments say they get people off the streets and keep these neighborhoods safer, but neighbors say that's a joke. They say since this encampment went up, for example, they've documented dozens of cases of drug use and violence, and some of these neighbors even feel like prisoners in their own homes. The city is poised to expand these safe spaces for homeless individuals like Melissa Ironshield.
There's nobody that can get in here without permission,
which advocates believe is a step in the right direction.
I really support this low barrier approach, adding an alternative for folks that sleep outside to have another option.
But neighbors say these safe spaces aren't as safe as advertised.
Their operational policies we don't feel are enough to really protect our neighborhood.
Security video and cell phone videos of the camp at 8th and Elati show ongoing issues. This guy wandering the alleys, screaming profanities at 4 in the morning.
People yelling racial slurs.
Another video shows 2 men in a verbal and physical altercation that went on for several minutes, ending with 1 man being expelled from the shelter.
That just means he gets expelled into our street here.
And then there's this from Emily Ostrander. Her packages stolen off her front porch, strung along the sidewalk next to the encampment. The contents of the packages gone.
You don't have to, go through rigorous background checks or drug offender screening.
Davida Gonzalez has lived here for decades and is now less than 10 feet from the new safe encampment. Yet she says she's never felt more unsafe in her life.
There's some days I don't even come out of the house.
She keeps her blinds closed on the north side of her home for as long as she can stand it.
I don't want to go into depression either.
Organizers and homeless advocates like Colorado Village Collaborative say these tents are safe and warm.
They're designed for ice fishing. Bathrooms, showers, laundry, things that can keep them safe.
You got heaters, little radios, lights and stuff, everything going on in the inside.
The site is secured by fence it's coded gate entry.
But clearly that doesn't quite work to protect those outside the fence. Ostrander says there are better options.
The Regis one is in the middle of an empty parking lot, hundreds of feet away from homes. To us, that makes a bit more sense.
Neighbors say putting 50 people in this encampment alone is simply irresponsible. Dozens of neighbors in Lincoln Park have now filed an appeal with the city to have this encampment removed. Meantime, City Council is set to vote tonight on extending funding to these encampments. We'll keep you posted. For now, we're live in Denver. Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
Russell, thank you for that. And a program that helps teens and young adults specifically experiencing homelessness will soon expand in Denver. The group Together is building 56 affordable housing units in Denver's Rhino neighborhood. These units are for 18 to 24-year-olds, and counselors will also be on site.
We're just putting a small dent in it, but we really want to do more and more of this so we can work towards solving this problem.
Together got its start in Boulder, and the group hopes to break ground on the Denver project sometime this year.
Tonight, Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman will once again introduce a citywide camping ban. The mayor first introduced a camping ban last summer. It failed twice in city council. And Kaufman tells us the ban remains a top priority and he's ready to push hard for it.
It's hurting our city in a number of ways. But I think the worst thing you can do to these people is to do nothing. And to allow them to, continue on their self-destructive behavior. And so I think the most humane approach is to stop them from doing what they're doing. And the camping ban does that.
Now, of course, Kaufman is facing opposition, one of them being Councilwoman Allison Coombs, who says this ban will only lead to more people ending up in jail.
We know that the cycle that happens for people experiencing homelessness is that they get a trespassing charge, they miss court, they get a warrant, and they end up in jail. So even if people aren't being hauled directly to jail as a result of this ban when a camp is abated, there's a high likelihood that we see an increased number of people in jail.
Kaufman's proposal requires 72 hours notice before a camp can be removed. It would also require the city manager to come up with a designated area as a shelter option. Two low-cost airlines are joining forces.
We asked the experts if this will make for cheap flights, cheapen the experience, or both.
People have shown time and time again the price is the #1 factor when they're booking flights.
And a Colorado figure skater is forced to cut his Olympic dreams short.
This absolutely does not define me as an athlete. I'm sorry that I couldn't continue this journey with you guys any longer.
A mild and dry start to the week, but there is a chance of snow coming up in the 70s.